It doesn't have to be anything, but I started recording, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay, I hear you good. Bro, how am I gonna sit? I mean, we don't care about the camera. But again, it's the first episode. How do you feel?
You want to turn a bit more towards him, because you're talking to him, not to
Yeah.
Yes. Bro, I just see these questions and it's like...
Oh, the fucking cables.
Yeah, I know. Cable management is bad here. Alright. What is up, people of the internet? First episode in the podcast studio with video. Along, I have my great friend Ivan, bro. Like, what is there to say? Serbian/Croatian? I don't know.
Well, definitely Croatian. I'm definitely happy to be here and be in the first video episode of your podcast.
That's facts, bro. That's facts. Yeah, it's definitely once in a lifetime experience. Once in your life you get to do the first episode with somebody, so I'm very happy you gave me the chance to do it with you. Plenty of things to talk about. If we are a bit awkward in front of the camera, we don't give a shit because it's the first time. I know Ivan doesn't give a shit.
No fucks given.
Backstage we have another Serbian. Big Dusan. Say something.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, you could barely hear him, but yeah, I don't know. Right now we're recording this episode on a snowy weekend here in Erie, PA. The weather is actually getting better and better. We have days off from practice. We're all on the rowing team, if you already didn't know. And yeah, we're about to get to the juice, if Ivan is ready as well.
Always ready.
Always ready. Okay, so let's just jump right into what's flaming right now, and it's the fucking Chinese spy balloon, bro. Spy balloon.
Well, I didn't read much about that situation, but from what I've seen, nothing can be said about it.
Bro, honestly.
The only thing we know is it was a balloon and something was hanging underneath it, like...
Something was hanging underneath it?
Yeah, some metal construction. I didn't read too much into it, but I saw a picture of it.
Yeah, I really like the first time I saw the balloon, I was like, what in the actual earth? I didn't look at it at all, and then I saw a couple of tweets going like, we need to shoot down the balloon. I'm like, what it's just a balloon, right? But
I saw some people talking about how China does use that type of a balloon when they fly over Indian and Japanese naval bases or something like that. But I didn't go too much into it. So why would China send a fucking balloon? I mean,
why not? I mean, who knows?
Well, yeah, but you know, you can see it. Like, why would they send something that a normal everyday Joe can see?
Yeah,
like,
I know, right?
Let alone the U.S. Air Force.
Like, how is this a spy thing if everybody can see it, right?
Maybe it was sent to distract from something else going on.
That's a good point, and like that actually brings me right to my next topic. Like, in general, I feel like U.S. is so much known for propaganda in general. And like I think they are the kings of fake news and everything that has to do with, you know, fast information to distract people from something else going on around the world. I feel like the balloon is definitely like some type of this situation, like propaganda-ish news, if you know what I mean.
I was more thinking in the line of China sending the balloon, but to distract the U.S. from something else they're doing.
Oh.
We may never know. I mean, I would say the Chinese are much better at propaganda. I mean, they are communists, after all.
This episode is not politically sponsored by anything, by the way. That's gonna be said later, but yeah, we're again like a small disclaimer. Everybody in this room has a very different background in politics and all that. So we don't partake in anything that we say. We just say our opinion, that's the country that we're here, right? Land of the free, home of the brave, whatever.
First Amendment.
Whatever it is they're saying, but I'm just gonna express my opinion openly, right? Yeah, speaking of Chinese again, like what would you think that they're maybe preparing? Because like do you think that COVID actually started from China and they were in something in they were preparing for a medical war that just didn't go right? Well, like what is your take on COVID in general?
Well, the thing is, I don't think it was. I don't think it was something sent to the U.S. or rest of the world by the Chinese. Now, was it maybe something lab made? That could definitely be an option because, as you probably know, there were laboratories in Wuhan where it started.
Mm-hmm.
And that for the longest times, like for a few months before it came into the public's attention, the Chinese government was doing everything they could to suppress the information about the virus spreading. Now, if it were some different circumstances, the bad story about what was it, the piss from a bat or somebody eating the bat meat or whatever,
yes.
that causing the virus, I don't really buy that. It was probably it was maybe a leak from the lab or something like that spread, and we got this whole shit show going on.
Yeah, again, like obviously I'm not super educated to the subject, but from what I know, it's like, and from what I want to believe, obviously, I feel like they were just getting ready for some sort of war, and definitely there was a leak. I know COVID was around for many years before the actual thing happened.
Well, yes, a different strand of the SARS virus. I remember when even I was a kid, there was some SARS outbreaks back in I don't want to. I'm gonna make an estimation of maybe like 2004ish, something like that, early 2000s. But nothing of this magnitude has happened.
Yeah, because I was having a conversation. The way I learned about COVID being around so long was I was very curious about how did they even have the chance to come up with a vaccine in just 2 years of the pandemic being around. And then a friend of mine actually told me that it has been around since the early 2000s, and they've been trying to come up with a cure for like more than 15 years. Because again, the doctors say that in order for you to bring out the vaccine, you need to have at least 15 years of research is behind it.
Well, yes, and because that's not a new virus; it's just a new strand.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean when I say that maybe something from the laboratory leaked. Yeah, whether it be that they were trying to do something, or maybe they were just experimenting with vaccines, and some mutation happened, and the virus became what it is now.
I just don't like the situation with so much, again, propaganda and like fake news, everybody trying to scare everybody to stay in their homes. Now it's definitely a lot better, but again, like I feel like it just escalated so quickly and it disappeared even more fast.
Yeah, they disappeared overnight. I feel like.
Yeah, and I know you came in the States like a year later than me, but man, when I came here, they were going so crazy about having the mask, wearing it even outdoors, and within a couple of weeks, they just pulled out all the meters for masks, for protection, everything. That's like it never happened, and it's so crazy to see people not even talk about it nowadays.
Yeah, the only remnant of the COVID situation still remaining is the U.S. requirement for vaccination. That's about it.
I've heard in one of my classes that they're taking out this regulation as well in May 15th or something like that. So, like, Biden said something like, officially the pandemic ends in May 11 or May 15, whatever it is. Which I also find very funny, man. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's my perspective. But again, I don't see how people can be so willingly blind to such a big topic and not question themselves and question the information they're getting hanged over. It's just
whatever the case may be, that's one chapter of our lives closed officially.
That's true. Hopefully,
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Let's not jinx it.
Yeah, for real. Speaking of chapters in life, I know Andrew Tate is going through a very difficult chapter in his life. That's a question for you to answer. Obviously, it's like kind of subjective, but do you think like it's a conspiracy? Do you think that somebody is trying to frame Tate and make him look like a certain type of person while he's trying to do something else?
I don't think he's being framed or something like that. That there's some big conspiracy. The closest I can see to a conspiracy going on is the way he got arrested. Because as anybody who knows anything about the situation, allegedly, I mean not allegedly, but he was arguing with Greta, and then the Romanian police realized through the pizza he was eating that he's actually in Romania. Like that's kind of nonsensical, because he's been talking for years about how I'm in Romania, and everybody knew he's in Romania.
Yeah.
He wasn't even hiding, like he was walking on the street,
Exactly.
driving a Bugatti, like you cannot notice that. And then they're like, yo, we knew he was here because of a pizza. Like that's kind of nonsensical.
Yeah.
But why did they choose to arrest him right now? That's one of the good questions.
Yeah, I really did not like the way the whole thing was handled. Like, man, how does he go say something about obviously one of the biggest figures of this generation, the most influential figures of this generation, Greta? I'm not saying I agree with her by any means, but the government and the media have definitely made her such a big and impactful person on everybody's lives. Like sitting down and listening to a 13-year-old when she started talking about climate change, where other people were talking about complete nonsense. Obviously she got a lot of attention, but the way she replied to him and emailed me at Small Dick Energy and whatever she said, I just found it like, I don't even think she even came up with the response. And yeah, obviously just by having a couple boxes of pizza, getting arrested, like obviously they knew where he was, bro. Like,
yeah, they definitely knew where he was. As for Greta, she's not really that relevant. I mean, you can see she's clearly being fed what she's supposed to say. When you see her on fucking discussions and stuff like that, when she's asked a question that wasn't prepared for her, like she gets lost.
yeah,
And she looks for other speakers who are with her for help, and then they try to cover for her. But she's not a kid anymore, so she does not have the protection of being a kid and having the sympathy points. I don't think they'll use her for much longer.
yeah, like
Now that she's not a kid.
like everything is falling apart, kinda.
Well, yes, because the biggest argument for Greta was, oh, look at this, she's a kid, she represents our future, and she's sad about the environment. She's not a kid anymore.
Yeah,
They don't need her.
But what about, like, again, the fake arrest? It's like, what are they trying to, like, in my mind, these are questions that have no answer, at least until now. Like, why do they want to arrest Tate, and at the same time they are arresting Greta? I don't even know why they arrested her. But I saw the backstage of the setup that she was smiling and all that.
Well, the Romanian courts actually released some of the... Tate was actually wiretapped for a long time, and they released his messages, and they released his phone conversations to the public. Now he's being charged with...
Human
stuff,
trafficking.
yeah, human trafficking. Although I really don't think stuff like that would catch. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna stick to him, because most of the stuff I've seen in those messages and conversations, they do sound bad when you hear them. But then again, Tate's lawyer is basically saying like, "Oh, he's just role playing."
Yeah.
Which, depending on how many messages they have, might not be the case. But I don't think it's an easy thing to charge somebody on stuff like that. What I do think they can charge him on is, in those messages he mentioned using the OnlyFans girls to smuggle stuff,
Yeah.
to transport, and he specifically called it illegal stuff. Which, if he does have, then
It's-
that's a
yeah.
problem. And another problem he faces is that the judges are looking into his videos as proof of that. His lawyer asked them not to, but because he said stuff in videos that turned out to be true, the judge thinks that the videos are reliable. For example, he said, "Oh, I have 7 passports," and he ended up really having 7 passports,
Yeah.
which in itself is kind of suspicious.
Yeah, honestly. So yeah, it all we'll have to wait and see how the Andrew Tate case will evolve. I think everybody took his side. That obviously from all of his supporters, everybody took his side because, like, you know, if you trust God, and Andrew Tate is their God, they have to trust him, right? They can't accept the evidence until obviously it's really proven. But yeah, I was not really into Andrew Tate, and this definitely brought me very close to his whole situation and what he's like as a speaker. It brought me closer to his background, his story as a human being, and I gotta say I got pretty inspired. There are some things obviously that I don't agree, and we talked about it. We say, like, he says these things just because he needs to portray himself for the media and have greater numbers, but again, at the end of the day, I think his points are very, very valid and really, really interesting if you actually sit down and listen to him and not just listen to him to judge him with him, you know.
Yes, and that's a thing that many people don't get about Andrew Tate. He does have valid points, as you said, but he uses exaggeration sometimes to bring attention to himself. Now, the problem with that is that some of his followers are either too young or too dumb to see the difference. Like you and I, when we listen to him, we can separate. Okay, this stuff he's saying is good.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, okay, this is clearly an exaggeration. Like, you will not beat your wife because she left the kitchen. Like, you can clearly see, okay, he's exaggerating now.
Yeah.
But some of his followers don't understand that, and that's a problem.
Yeah. But do you think if you have so much power in your hands and in any type of platform like Andrew Tate, don't you think you have some social responsibility for the words that come out of your mouth, especially when your target group, you're mainly addressing young males that are about to come out to the world? Like, because again, not everyone is qualified enough to figure out the difference between exaggeration and actual facts that he's talking about. Like, again, in my mind, it's like you need to have some sort of filter when you're talking about these things and be more careful, because obviously somebody wants to take it literally because they're actually beating their wives, and they're like, okay, Andrew Tate said I can do so guess what?
Yeah, I mean, if I was in his place, I would definitely approach it differently. I mean, generally, as a person, I like to make myself pretty clear. I'm a direct guy. I don't like to speak in metaphors, beat around the bush, because then that leaves you open to misrepresentation, which is happening to him. Especially, I wouldn't say stuff like that can be inflammatory.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a very thin line between false news, that they're taking small clips out of his conversations and they putting them out in the media, and then you see a random video on TikTok. He talks about when I marry somebody's wife, technically he's giving it away. He's giving her away to me, so I own her. And then if you haven't heard the whole conversation, then you're like, okay, Andrew Tate is obviously a misogynist and everything that comes along. But yeah, I don't think that's the case. I think that's a very Americanized way of looking at things. Again, I don't know if you agree, and obviously there is no right or wrong on this topic, but he is a man with a lot of power that definitely influences our generation a lot.
Oh, he definitely is influential. especially this past year, he rose up like you couldn't scroll through Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever, without seeing clips of Andrew Tate.
Yes.
Now, depending on this trial, we'll see if he'll continue to be influential or if he'll wane away. Although even being imprisoned might not destroy his influence.
Yeah, I don't think he will do much. And he keeps saying, like, I was confused because I was not really looking into his case, and I just kept seeing tweets from his Twitter account, and I'm like, is he still imprisoned? Is he somewhere else? Like, is he set free? Like, I just couldn't figure out if what's the deal with him.
I don't see him being imprisoned. I think for rich people, things like this work differently.
Yeah.
If the charges end up not being too serious, like if he did not, and I really doubt that one. If he really did not do human trafficking, if he just dealt drugs or something like that, I really think the Romanian government would just make a fiscal punishment. They would make him pay a ton of money and he'll be free. Even if he gets imprisoned, I think he would use it, like he would use the time to publish a book or something like that. Because I don't know. I don't see him being in prison for life. If he gets in prison, he's gonna be in prison for a few years, and they were throwing some numbers like up to 14 years, stuff like that. Would he really get 14 years? Who knows? But I think he would use that time and use the whole situation to further his influence.
Yeah, but he keeps talking about this matrix, bro. Like, that to me was the thing that captured my attention. You know, I don't want to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but compared to you, I can definitely say I am.
Compared to me, definitely.
Yeah, like compared to you, I think everyone is a conspiracy theorist. But again, the Matrix and the whole idea behind it, I just find it so, in a way, well written that I just cannot avoid it. I cannot oversee it. Because I always thought like somebody, I kept saying that somebody is controlling us, and they just want you to be in the working class for your whole life and not be successful. And he's trying to wake up people and take them away from that lower income working class and the Matrix in general.
Well, people definitely, some people definitely want to control you now. For example, the government.
Yeah.
Every government wants to control its citizens. But it depends to what degree you believe they want you to be controlled.
Yeah.
Now, do I believe there's somebody who wants to put a microchip in your brain? Well, except for Elon Musk, no.
Oh my God, I forgot about that guy, man. Yeah. And again, back to the Matrix, I feel that the whole thing is so much well written, especially in the United States, because being here almost 2 years now, I just see every family being all about work, and making more and more money, but never having the time to take vacation and having time to enjoy themselves. And then they just die and they realize that they just didn't live their lives. And I tell that from a personal perspective, right? I've seen that. I've seen people that are 60, 70, 40, and they're all on the same page. They're all on, I can't take no days off. I work like, 360 days a year, and I make 7 figures. So what? But they work like dogs. Like they work 80 hours a week minimum.
Well, things like that go way back, because now this is a very simple, I'm a big history buff, as you know, and there's a very simplified way and a pretty romanticized way to look at American history, because throughout history the US has indeed been kindly split in two. You have the Republicans and the Democrats, you have the had the Union and the Confederacy, and it goes all the way back to the beginning of colonial times, where you had I think the first two colonies were the Plymouth and the Jamestown colonies, and they were culturally different. And some people think, although it is, I say again, a pretty very, very simplified view, that the culture of those two colonies influenced the shape and the culture of the U.S. Because one of those colonies was, you'll forgive me if I get something wrong, but it was the Quakers, I believe, the religious people who escaped religious persecution from England, and they came to the U.S. Meanwhile, the other colony were the capitalists, who came to the New World to make profits, to make money. And those two cultures kind of shaped the way the U.S. is. They, as you say, they are indeed like all about we work, and they are in some regions. And in some regions, they're religious.
Yeah. So would you say like it's kind of in their DNA, some sort of?
Well, I would say I can call it being in the DNA, but being in the culture, definitely.
Yeah.
And it has been like that even now. And the same can be said about the U.S. government. You've always had like some part of the government. Some people want to make the government bigger, make it more controlling. The big government, which right now is the Democratic Party. Back then it was I don't even know what the parties were called. They had the Whigs or something. And you had the other people who were like, oh, the states should have more power, the government shouldn't interfere, which right now are the Republicans, but back then it was the whoever.
Yeah.
Now, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Again, back to the topic, like it all, that this whole thing started from asking you about the Matrix, and my take on it is that it's definitely, I don't know, it's all planned out. I really feel like they've been controlling us for many, many years. Obviously, if we take it not even that back ago, when the Germans did all these experiments, MK Ultra, and
no, that was the CIA.
But it was with German, basically.
A German scientist, maybe. I don't know who. Yeah.
Because that's what I know. Like it happened in the 60s, but it happened basically with German doctors that they brought from the World War II. They cleaned all their criminal records from, obviously, what they did to the Jews and in general, all the criminals, the crimes against humanity that they did back in the World War II, and they created them a whole new identity. They were walking around as Americans while they were actually German, and then they came up with all these experiments with knowledge and science that came from World War II. So yeah, I think that for the past half century we've definitely been mind controlled and brainwashed in much greater extent than we actually realize.
I don't know. I don't know about the. I wouldn't say we were mind controlled in the sense of they did an MK Ultra on us. Is there control in the sense of the governments are trying to assert more and more control over the people in various ways? Yeah, to that I agree with. But then again, in the U.S., it will never happen that people get control to that extent, because their constitution and their form of government really do prevent government from being too overreaching. Now, in some parts of the U.S., like for example California, the government is pretty strong and it does have a lot of say in what you do. But again, you're always gonna have strongholds like Texas, in which the state is the main power, not the federal.
Mm-hmm. So we agree that we disagree on this one. Some sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I think I look at the control in a way that the government tries to control you more and more, especially in these past few decades. Meanwhile, you look at it from a brainwashing kind of way.
Yeah, brainwashing, because you come to the point that you don't even realize the information that is hanged to you is coming from a specific source, and they trying to achieve something specifically. Either obviously starting from the very obvious things that our phones listening to us all the time, and so that they know exactly what to portray on your feed and keep you stuck in the screen of your phone for longer. So you become more and more inactive. You want more and more things that are not even useful. Like again, this is the basics, right? Like everybody agrees. I remember 5 years ago, I was saying with some friends of mine that people are listening to us through our microphones of our phones, and they were like, "What you're saying is crazy. It's absolutely nonsense." And now we've come to a point that everybody says, "Yo, man, last night we were talking about this and that, and we didn't even looked it up." And then it appeared on my feed. And again, starting from these fundamental ways of spying on us and covering so many information about anything that we do, I can't help but think that they really want to control us in a much deeper sense.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that to a certain extent. Now everybody knows that the phone is indeed listening to you, and you get the commercials and ads that are personalized. So to that extent, yes, they are controlling you, but they are controlling you indirectly. They do not plan to change your views sometimes, but they do, because, for example, the YouTube algorithm or Instagram or whatever. When you look at some type of videos, they recommend you similar videos.
Mm-hmm.
So if you happen to stumble upon a new idea, let's say you're a young kid, just became a teenager or whatever, and you hear about communism, let's say. I just took a random ideology. And you watch a video about communism on YouTube. Well, now more videos about communism are going to pop up. Now you watch those. And now channels that are communistic in views and that share propaganda, now they pop up. And now you watch more and more content about that, and now you're in an echo chamber. Now the only thing you hear is communism, and all you hear is good stuff. So in that sense, yes, you were mind controlled, because YouTube was specifically feeding you a certain type of content and didn't allow you to broaden your views.
Breakout, yeah.
And by the time you start seeing something that's the opposite,
yeah,
you're too far in. You're too far gone. So yeah, in that sense, indirectly, they do shape your views, definitely.
Yeah, but again, taking it back, everything is based on these mind control experiments that they did back in the day. From advertising is the basics of mind manipulation, or at least thought manipulation.
Oh yeah.
So like obviously like something that seems very, I don't know, not. It doesn't look like a big scene to somebody. It actually has like a very, let's say, dark background behind it that people don't even sit down and think about it. Like I feel like again nowadays everybody accepts information, or majority of the people, not everybody. We can't put everybody in the same basket, but majority of the people, and especially young people, because they have so much access and fast access to so much information, they take it as it comes, and they don't really have a filter, if that makes sense. So again, when you hear people arguing or having conversations in the streets, on bars, that you overhear people by accident, I always find myself being very surprised by how shallow and again controlled their opinions are in many subjects. I always feel like I'm talking to bots and NPCs. Like everybody's like, I was told to say that thing, buy this elixir or move on, and then you walk away and they stay there like NPCs, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's why it's important for people to broaden their perspectives and always test their thoughts. being in the comfort zone in the echo chamber is always bad, and you should always try and see, go out and try to find the opposite opinion. Test yourself. Like, ask yourself, is what I'm thinking right? And in that way, you can change your views in a healthy way, maybe even strengthen them. The self-doubt is the most important part of the human being, because that's the way you improve.
Yeah.
You either keep what's good, you throw out what's bad. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that in these times, and they like to be right. They're afraid of being wrong, and and because of that, they just take stuff that they cherry pick. They cherry pick stuff that makes them right, and they don't want to even look at something that makes them wrong. And that's really bad. Especially that culture is very present on Twitter, especially. Like, you go on Twitter and it's a fucking
It's like a warfare, bro. Everybody's taking shots at everybody, at least on my feed.
Yes, and that's the problem, because people are afraid of being wrong, and they don't want to seek information that would maybe make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I may not be right. Let me change my views a bit to incorporate this thing that I now know it's right. And people don't want to do that. They want to be in a comfort zone and think, I'm always right. This is the way it is, and without even trying to test themselves. Like, okay, if you're always right, that's good. If you test yourself and then again you're right, then again you're right, great. But it's important to test yourself and your views.
Small break.